He goes, it's ice, methamphetamine, And I said, oh, I heard that's pretty bad stuff. And I started medicating on ice daily. And that habit escalated to $1,000 a day. I grew up on a farm, right? I knew nothing about the underworld. I know a hell of a lot now, and I learned the hard way. Whilst I was on ice, I lost my father, I lost my mother, I lost my brother, and I also lost my baby daughter. I started dealing ice to pay for my drug habit. I was shot in the leg, and I was stabbed 3 times in the back of the neck. And before I knew it, the police were following me everywhere.
G'day people, here we are. Welcome to the very first episode of Changemakers. So this is a very exciting series for me as I am pushing into the social enterprise space myself. As a lot of you already know, for anybody who doesn't know who I am, my name's Brad Houston, aka Brad for Good here on the Instagram, or the Instagrizzle as I like to call it sometimes. And I'm starting a video streaming platform called Flicks for Good, FLICKS, the number 4, good, and you can find that flicksforgood.com.au. And it's essentially just like Netflix, except for the profits, or at least half of the profits, go to good causes, and people can also flick/donate money to causes at a whim. Anyway, we're not going to ramble on about Flicks for Good this morning. Today, it's all about having a chat to a guy that I've only just become aware of, but I'm already really excited to hear his story. His name is Simon Fenech. He's not related to Jeff Fenech, so we can clear that straight up. I already asked him that question, and I think for him, people asking if he's related to Jeff Fenech is probably similar to people saying, Houston, we have a problem when it comes to me with my last name, which is not for good. All right, so I'm going to get Simon on in here, and sorry for the late notice as well, you guys. But I'm sure that if people don't catch this live, then they'll be able to catch it later on. Let us get started with our chat with Simon Fenech, Social Enterprise Champion of the Year for 2019. Now that is a title that I would like to aspire to. Here we go. Fingers crossed. We had some dramas yesterday. So hopefully today we don't have the same problems. I'll just crack another one of these unhealthy mother cans. Monster, sorry. It's not an ad. I don't know if you guys know of Alex Honnold. Sorry, I'll just have another go here. Come on, Instagram. I'll tell you what, if it doesn't deliver for us, this could be the death blow for Instagram as far as live streaming goes, because can't be. Here he is. Thank God.
Yeah. Good morning.
Nothing like technology just going wrong to stress you out a bit. I'm just trying to readjust here. How's things?
Very well, thank you, Brad. Very well.
Yeah. Mate, thank you so much for getting on board and being willing to come on here and have a bit of a chat. As I was saying to you on the phone, I'm all about honesty and transparency, and I proudly put out the statement that vulnerability is strength. I believe that. Like I've been around my fair share of staunch characters, probably not as many as you have. I'm sure we'll probably find out, but nonetheless, I don't know. I think if a man can be honest about who he is, what his story is, warts and all, and they share that, any time I've ever heard somebody do that, it's powerful, you know, and there's a reason, I believe it more and more as I go along, there's a reason why we should be sharing our own personal stories and who we are as people. Because that's the only thing that's really unique, right? Like everybody can go out there and recreate a different service. You know, Uber's been ripped off by Lyft and Ola or whoever else it is out there. But we're all 100% unique and our story is unique. And, you know, it will resonate with the people it needs to resonate with. So on that note, just if you could give us, I guess, a little bit of a rundown on, you know, who you are and, yeah, just let's just wind the clock back and take us through the story if you can. Just give us a rundown on what's happened in your life and I guess what's led you through to where you are today with Fruit2work.
Okay, well, I'll start by saying, you know, never in my life, you know, a few years ago would I have thought by sharing my story would I possibly inspire somebody or maybe help them change the course of their life. But it seems through my mistakes, which my mistakes I have now turned to lessons, but through my mistakes and through my actions and my dark paths, I have learned a lot. And I think it's only fair that I should share them.
Yeah.
Just like an apprentice carpenter goes to school for, you know, 4 or 5 years to be an expert on how to build a house.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I did a life of crime for 8 years, which I fell into. I wasn't born into.
Yeah.
And I might as well put that knowledge to good use to try and help people now. Yeah.
100%.
So I'll take you back a bit, Brad. In 2008, I considered myself a very lucky man. I owned a 50 square house. I drove a Mercedes Benz. I had the wife, the 2 kids, you know, the white picket fence, rode a Harley Davidson. My life was grand. I had a great job. I only went to school to year 10, so I never had a great education, but I had a great paying job, driving trucks for a leading supermarket chain. I was fit as a fiddle. I was a 2-time Australian champion kickboxer. I was a South Pacific kickboxing champion, so I was fit as a fiddle. And then one day whilst I was at work, I was struck in the back with a forklift and my 2 lower discs were damaged. My 2 lower discs were fractured and I was in a wheelchair. So I went from being fit as a fiddle to being in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
That was something in itself for me. That was the start of my downward spiral. You know, the doctors put me on all these medications, muscle relaxants, nerve relaxants, sleeping tablets, all sorts of painkillers.
Yeah.
And nothing worked. Antidepressants. I was just falling deeper and deeper into a depression cycle, and I was in constant pain 24/7.
Mate. Yeah. I get you. Like if after this you go and check out my YouTube channel, which is just Brad Houston. I've shared my personal story about breaking my back 8 years ago. So I got T12, L1, incomplete spinal cord injury. You know, similar sort of story. No, I was in a wheelchair for a while, and on all sorts of drugs, and I am still on a wide variety of drugs. Unfortunately, I'd love to not be, but yeah, I struggle with neuropathic pain. But anyway, I just thought I'd jump in there because it's a very similar sort of story. Yeah.
Well, you would get it. You would get it better than anybody. Then you know, I
everything, the whole thing, like end up abusing oxycodone, whatever. But anyway, let's get back to your story.
Well, I lived in this beautiful double-story house. I was just newly married, and I couldn't even make it to upstairs to the marital bedroom. Yeah. I was staying downstairs in the spare room. Yeah, you know, and that was really starting to depress me. I couldn't even wipe my own backside. Yeah, that's yeah. Well, you know the feeling. I don't have to, you know, and the pain never leaves you. It's with you in your sleep. It's with you when you stand up. It's with you when you sit down. And I tried everything. I tried acupuncture, physiotherapy, chiropractors, hydrotherapy. I went to spinal therapy for 12 months. Nothing worked.
Yeah.
An acquaintance came round one day and said, "Geez, Simon, you look terrible. You know, you're a shadow of the man that I knew. You know, fading away to nothing." Yeah, yeah, he goes, look, try some of this, they reckon marijuana is supposed to be really good for pain, and I was desperate. I would have tried anything.
Yes.
And I
Yeah, I
did.
know. Yep.
I tried this marijuana, I had a few puffs on this joint, and it actually intensified my pain because I got stoned.
Yeah.
That stone feeling intensified the pain. All I could do was concentrate on my pain. It was terrible. But so I said, no, that's no good for me,
Yeah.
Well, the same acquaintance come around a couple of weeks later, and he said, look, I've got something else for you to try. Try a bit of this. I said, well, what's that? He goes, it's ice, methamphetamine.
Yeah.
He goes, this will get you up and about, And I said, I heard that's pretty bad stuff. He goes, it's okay as long as you don't abuse it, So I watched him. I watched how he used it. He didn't have to use any needles because I'm afraid of needles, right?
Yeah.
So, he put it in a pipe and he smoked it,
Yeah.
and he blew it into my face, and it didn't smell yucky. It didn't smell like cigarette smoke. It smelled clean. I thought, oh, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
I'll try that. And all it took was that one puff.
Yeah.
So it took that one puff for me to be addicted to methamphetamine.
Wow.
Right. And I went from having so I threw all the doctor's medications in the bin.
Yeah.
And I started medicating on ice daily.
So you
and
found the ice actually overpowered the pain? That's what you found?
Yeah. Yes, it did. Yeah. Well, one thing about ice is, and I'm not promoting ice in any way, any way, shape or form. I need to make that perfectly clear.
Yeah.
But one thing ice does is it numbs you from the inside out. So and not only does it numb your nerves, but it numbs your soul. It turns you into a hollow shell of the person that you are. Yeah. And then on top of that is all the after effects and everything else that comes with the ice.
Yeah.
And before, so I started self-medicating with $100 a day habit, and that habit escalated to $1,000 a day.
Wow.
Right, in a very short time.
Yeah.
Whilst I was on ice, I lost my father, I lost my mother, I lost my brother, and I also lost my baby daughter.
Oh my God! So sorry to hear that.
In a short period of time.
Wow.
I started dealing ice to pay for my drug habit.
Yeah.
I was attacked by 3 guys trying to stand over me for drugs and money. I was shot in the leg and I was stabbed 3 times in the back of the neck. My life went through a downward spiral in a very big hurry.
Yeah. And I can imagine each piece like magnified the other, right? Like you can imagine, you just be like, okay, more ice, more ice, more ice.
More and more ice. I already started getting into a little bit of trouble, so a little bit more didn't matter, a little bit more didn't matter, and before I knew it, the police were following me everywhere, and they had a right to. Yeah, I was mixing with some unsavory characters. Yeah. In actual fact, I'd lost the will to live. That year, I had 5 suicide attempts. Yeah,
what year were we talking about here?
Oh, look, we're talking between 2012 to 2014, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, roughly around there.
In Melbourne.
In Melbourne.
Yep.
My life got very tough.
Yeah.
And all I saw was a very dark hole for a long time. I'd been to that many funerals, whether it was friends or whether it was family. It was also friends because I lived in that drug world. Yep. All of a sudden, there was that many people I knew that were dropping from drugs as well.
Yeah.
So death was a common thing for me.
Yeah.
And I honestly thought that's where I was going to go.
Yeah.
My wife left me, my kids left me, and I didn't blame them because I was a drug addict.
Yeah.
I can't remember how many times I'd let my kids down for the amount of times I was supposed to go and pick them up. And I never turned up because I was waiting for someone to drop off money or drop off drugs, or and today that's a really hard pill to swallow.
Yeah.
So after police raid, I end up in jail.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they found drugs on me numerous times, and I end up doing a 12-month sentence in jail.
Yeah. Right.
And that was the lowest point for me. But it was a huge wake-up call as well.
Yeah.
I used that time in jail to rehabilitate myself.
Great.
Now, there are plenty of drugs.
Did they just throw you out of interest? Is it just a cold turkey situation? Like when you bang, just close the door, you just deal with it.
Yeah, and what made it worse, it was I went to jail just after they had the riots at the Melbourne Remand Centre. So they took all the cigarettes out of the jails in Australia, and in Melbourne they rioted and they demolished the jail. So they were under really strict conditions, and everybody was in lockdown. So I did the first 5 months of my sentence in 22 hours of lockdown.
Oh man!
Right? If that wasn't a wake up call to come down off 5 or 6 years of drugs. And realizing the grief that I had lost all those family members, lost my family completely, and been locked in this stinking jail cell, nothing was a bigger wake up call than that. So I had to do it tough.
Yeah. Wow.
But so whilst I was in prison, I tried to do as many programs and courses as I could.
Yeah.
There's a lot of there's a big waiting period. For any courses in jail. So some of the courses I applied for had a 7-month waiting period.
Yeah, right.
And because I only had a 12-month sentence, I wasn't eligible to apply for the course.
Yeah.
So what I did is I just persisted every day. I thought even if I can get a few hours in or a day in of this program or that program, if I could pick any tools to better myself once I was released, I could use those tools for when I got out of jail.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
If you got a good prison guard, they would make a phone call and try and get you into the course. If you got a bad one, they'd just tell you where to go. So it's pretty hit and miss too.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was released from prison, and I was released on a corrections order. So I had an 18-month corrections order. So I still wasn't a free man. I still had to do 380 hours community work, a men's behaviour program. I had to do a drug and alcohol program. I had to do a mental health program. So I had to do all of this stuff once a week, as well as try and live.
Yeah.
I was homeless.
Sorry to jump in there, but because I'm just thinking about how you kind of juggle the process of trying to, I guess, make an honest living with all that stuff as well. Like, so how many hours would that use up?
Well, an appointment. You really had an appointment every day.
Yeah.
Right. Or at least 4 days a week.
Yeah.
And the community work was at least 1 to 2 full days a week.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, because the idea was to try and knock the community work off as quick as I could, so I could go get a full-time job.
Yeah.
I couldn't survive on Centrelink. I'd never been on Centrelink in my life.
Yeah, it's useless anyway, isn't it?
That's terrible. When I was released, from jail, I was released to a boarding house.
Yeah.
The boarding house that the jail released me to was a drug-infested den.
Oh my God, this is disaster. It's a joke, isn't it?
Disaster. It's
ridiculous.
Yeah. You're almost set up to fail. So, mind you, that boarding house was $200 a week. And Centrelink was $520 a fortnight, so I was left to live on $60 a week.
Yeah.
I could not even stay one night in this drug den. I knocked on the door. The lady that answered the door was off her face on heroin. She's pointing down the hallway of this putrid house, unlocking 3 padlocks on this door, and says that I've got to lock the door every time I go to the toilet because the guy, everything goes missing in your room. She opens the door and the room stunk of urine. She said the guy in the room next to you urinates on the wall and it goes through to your room. There were syringes on the carpet and it was just a blood-filled mattress. No blankets, no linen, no nothing. I just got out of jail with the clothes on my back.
Yeah.
And this is where I was supposed to start my new life. My jail cell was cleaner.
Yeah.
So that was another huge hurdle I had to overcome was trying to find somewhere clean to live.
Yeah.
And then having to try and find employment. And this is where I'm getting to in the story of the social enterprise. Okay.
Yeah.
So you know, these were the huge struggles a lot of men and women go through when they come out of prison. And this is why a lot of men and women return back to prison. In Victoria, over 47% of men return back to prison within the first 2 years of them coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And half the issue is because they cannot find, they're homeless, so they can't find living arrangements.
Yeah.
And B, it's impossible for them to get a job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is the thing. Like I always say that, courtesy of my own mishaps and journey, like I've realised that unless you literally walked in someone else's shoes, like their exact shoes, like, do not be quick to judge. So many people, so fast to make a call. Like I even remember being younger and talking amongst friends and talking about like addicts and like heroin addicts and stuff like that, and just having no compassion, like no compassion for homeless people, no compassion, just like, oh, they've done it themselves, you know, like, and also thought, oh, the government must have stuff out there to look after them. They obviously don't want to take it. Then, you know, too bad, too sad. But I mean, now I've learnt through my own journey and also conversations like this and just watching some of the stuff that they put out on SBS and what have you, it's just abysmal. Like, and that's the thing, like, you got to put yourself into the shoes of somebody who knew a way before to make, like, not just a little bit of money, probably quite a lot of money, you know, and that avenue is always going to be there for them, but that's the avenue that's going to take them back to jail.
I was exactly the same as you. I would see someone who was a drug addict and think, oh, just a junkie, or someone homeless and think, oh, if you want help, you can really get help. Yeah. It's far from easy. It's far from easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, there's not a great deal of help out there, and even little things like just trying to get Centrelink organised for a homeless person. If you've got no fixed address and you've lost all your identification, how are you going to get a birth certificate sent to you? How are you going to get a Medicare care card? Absolutely impossible. You think there's somebody that can arrange that for you? No. You know, that's how people stay homeless.
Yeah.
That's how the hole deepens. But let's not lose track of my story, and then we can get back to So after I got out of jail, struggling on $60 a week, needing a job, living in this boarding house, which actually I moved from that boarding house. I moved into a better boarding house, a drug-free boarding house.
Yeah.
I had one living relative left. He was my brother, and he moved me out of that boarding house into a drug-free boarding house.
Right.
He put the money up. Yeah. But I needed a job.
Yeah.
Every time I applied for a job, as soon as they saw a criminal record, nobody wanted to know me. As soon as they saw that I couldn't work this day or work that day, they didn't want to know me.
Yeah.
And that's where this little non-for-profit social enterprise called Fruit2work came in.
Yes.
So Fruit2work.
Just to put a picture on that, like you know, since from the time you left prison, going through that journey of that, you know, of all those challenges, how long until you then found Fruit2work?
So I left prison on October the 11th, 2016.
Yeah.
And I started at Fruit2work in February 2017.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Right.
So
that. Yeah, I remember that Christmas was the worst Christmas I had ever had, where I was starving hungry. I was going to the Uniting Church for food parcels, and they would only allow you one food parcel a fortnight. Yeah.
Right.
So going back to my old life would have been very easy for me.
Yes.
Going back to dealing drugs would have been very easy.
Yeah.
But I'd been shot, I'd been stabbed, and I'd lost my kids' respect. I was just starting to get everything back. Yeah. Well, I didn't want to lose that again. So I really wanted my life back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one day, out of pure desperation, I went to the corrections office, and I said to my corrections officer, "Look, I really need help to get a job here. I'm struggling. I'm hungry, and I'm really contemplating going back to my old life." And she pulls out this leaflet out of the rubbish bin, and it was Fruit to Work advertising for a position.
Yeah, right.
Right, and this position said that if you've got an offending background, we want to give you an opportunity.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah.
She goes, take this home with you and give them a call and see if they can help you. I said, look, I haven't even got a mobile phone. Maybe you can help me ring from here now. Yeah. So she did. Made an appointment. Went to the interview. I got the job. Yeah. I started there. 2 days a week. I was delivering fruit and milk. Started at 1:30 in the morning. Crazy hours. But I could do my community work. I could do my corrections order. I could fulfill everything. And I was earning a wage. So I could move out of that boarding house. I could move into a shared private rental.
Yeah.
Which meant I could have my kids over.
Yeah.
Which meant I came in a high-vis shirt.
Yeah.
Which, I was delivering fruit into offices where people didn't look at me like a junkie anymore. People looked at me like a delivery man.
Yeah.
I was paying tax. So I felt like a person of the community again.
That's it. It's like the actual, it's I can just, man, listening to you tell that story, I can feel that shift of, that complete loss of identity and loss of, it's a really big thing. Like if anybody's been through any sort of journey where they've kind of lost or felt like disempowered, just have those little things. Like I imagine when you got that opportunity and you're able to put that shirt on and you're able to make that move into the private residence, like you probably felt like a millionaire, right? Like compared to the average citizen.
Yeah. And remember, I came from that 50 square home with that Mercedes Benz. But even though I had all that, maybe I really didn't even really appreciate it. Yeah. So maybe that was life's lesson to me, because when I moved into that shared house with one other lady, and I got to buy myself my own secondhand TV, and I started buying my own clothes, because I had a job, and I was able to take my daughter out to the pancake parlor for lunch. I was back on my feet. I wasn't blowing money on drugs. I was able to earn that respect back from my kids. I was able to get my teeth fixed after the police kindly kicked them out of my mouth. So, so I didn't have to cover my mouth when I smiled anymore. Yeah. I got an identity back.
Yeah.
And right. So my confidence started to build. And then I started to see guys and girls start working with me that had the same or going through the same problems that I were.
Yeah.
And I found that I could connect with them. Yeah. So Fruit to Work started growing, and it started growing at a rapid rate.
Awesome.
This little social enterprise was becoming well known for helping ex-offenders.
That's great.
There was somebody doing something in this very large space.
Yeah.
There's nobody really out there helping ex-offenders.
Yeah.
Yeah. You do a crime or you do something wrong, should you pay for that for the rest of your life? Or should you be given should you be given an opportunity or a chance to change?
Definitely.
It's all up to you. If you want that chance, take it. You don't want it, you don't have to take it. No one's forcing you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I started there 2 days a week. I worked my way up to from picking and packing fruit and delivering fruit to a team leader. I had 4 or 5 guys and girls working with me. And then after 12 months, I worked my way up to the operations manager.
Awesome.
So today I run the operations for Fruit to Work. I've just got a book out called Breaking Good.
Yes.
It's all about my life story in detail. Quite a detailed story about the highs and the lows.
Yeah.
And all about the addiction and about hope.
Yeah.
And there's many stories along the way about guys and girls' lives that I've been involved with, that I've helped now.
That's great.
Fruit to Work has given me the power or has helped me give the opportunity to many people just like me.
That's so good. Yeah.
I see guys who start with us, who might have spent the last 5 Christmases in jail. And this year or last year, we had a Christmas party at work. I dressed up as Santa. You know, they brought their kids to work. They had lay-bys, which they were paying off for months. It's the first time they bought their kids presents in years. Because they were either being in jail or spending money on drugs.
Yeah.
That's
so good. It's just so it's awesome. Such a good story. Man, I'm pumped. I'm pumped to get this book now. Man, everybody and anybody who's here, and we've got some great people here in the chat. You know, Varna, Donato. These are some people I've been getting to know. I think I mentioned briefly on the phone, but because I saw Coach Jay on Gary V. Tea with Gary V, and Coach he's got a really good heart. You know, he wants to do good things over there in Canada, and he's just been going live and all these people on the other side of the world, you know, like I've just started to get to know, and it's just a really good supportive community. So, and there's some other names in here, some people I spotted earlier that I haven't spoken to before, but I'm glad you're here. Latina mummies, I know, plant trainers, but yeah, look, all these guys, you know, they'll definitely be checking out. I think Ashley might be here, and she's really the champion of finding links. What's the best place for people to go to buy the book? What's the best way to go there?
Booktopia is the best. Booktopia.
Booktopia.com.au.
Yeah, that's correct. Yep.
Okay, and Breaking Good.
And that's correct.
All right, good. Awesome, mate. That's so good. Yeah, keep going.
I just want to add. So let's keep on about the social enterprise and the beauty of social enterprise, because when I joined social enterprise, I never knew a thing about social enterprise. You know, I'd heard the words before. I never knew what social enterprise was, but my boss Rob Brown bought Fruit2work, and I often wonder, for the amount of work that goes into it, why did he do that? Why did he outlay so much money for no reward? Because every dollar that Fruit2work makes goes into nobody's pocket.
Yeah.
Every dollar that Fruit2work makes goes back into either buying another van for us to deliver more fruit in and milk in, to give someone else more employment, to make a chance for somebody else.
Yeah, so good.
So no one's making money at the end by delivering fruit and milk, which is a necessary service.
Yeah.
We are giving people a second chance at life, changing lives. Like my
changing lives, stopping people going back into jail, helping people restore their families. It's just it's so good. It's so important. Look, it makes my mind boggle in some ways, really. Like, and I know Australia is not as bad as America. I mean, but still, you know, if almost 50% of people are going back to jail, and you listen to this sort of story, you hear about the kind of situation that people find themselves in. You really put yourself in those shoes, and you can see how people, particularly if they're like, shit, where do I go? What do I do? And they know that they've got some sort of like mate, you know, like someone they used to call a mate, but it's probably going to just get them hooked up back into the drug scene straight away, might take them in for a night or two, you know, well, then they're there for the night. And, you know, anybody who's taken drugs, whether they've gotten heavily addicted or not, you know, is going to be tempted. You know, I've tried ice and you know, done quite a few other things in my time, but like luckily for me, for whatever reason, it didn't grab me. But I have heard stories of people who've just gotten hooked, just bang on that one go. Like, so I'm super grateful that didn't become the situation for me, but I can easily see how. I can just see how it could happen. And also, like, in the situation, the story of your back and all those drugs, like, so many people, like myself, end up in a situation where, you know, they might have been given a medication that was legit, you know, for their circumstances, but then they end up, you know, taking it the wrong way. Like, you know, and unfortunately for me, like, I kind of was like, well, I can get on the internet, find these forums. People talk about, okay, they come up with ways to try and stop you being able to use oxycodone. But there's ways around it, so you can find out. It's amazing how much you can learn. Really, it's ridiculous, and it also shows. It's just another testimony, really, to you can learn way more than you think you can, because you go find like the average junkie or whatever. They're almost like a bloody what do you call it? Like a chemistry expert, because they figured out how to like different muck around with shit so they can get what they need out of it. Yeah,
I grew up on a farm.
Yeah,
right. I knew nothing about the underworld. I know a hell of a lot now, and I learned the hard way.
Yeah,
So I grew up very innocent to all that. When my mates were going out to nightclubs, I was training. I trained for 9 years, 7 days a week. Never went to, I was innocent to all that sort of stuff. But wow, it doesn't take you long to learn that lifestyle, and you can learn the hard way. And it's amazing how deceptive people are in that world, and the trickery and how desperate they are. It's actually quite sad.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them are really good people, but very lost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lost and desperate.
That's right. So that's
it. Go on.
How many people have you guys got there now?
So we've been hit pretty hard with the coronavirus, because as you can imagine, the majority of places that we deliver to are offices.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, we deliver to a lot of offices. So I think we're down to about 35% capacity.
Yeah.
We're also doing other things, like we part of a thing called Moving Feast, which is a bunch of social enterprises have merged together, where they're growing the vegetables. We're delivering the vegetables to soup kitchens and restaurants. They're making up meals, and then we're delivering those meals, Fruit2work, delivering those meals to vulnerable Australians. Yeah, we're also picking up large bulks of food from Food Bank, taking them to the Whittlesea Collective. They're making up food parcels, and Fruit2work are delivering them to people's homes.
Yeah, awesome.
So we're diversifying wherever we can, to keep our guys busy and to try and service vulnerable Victorians at the moment.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I mean, I was wondering whether you might have ended up doing something along those lines. So they're obviously, the people running the show, including yourself, obviously, able to kind of think on your feet and make a change. And that's the topic of one of my other shows that I'm putting out now, The New Canvas, on a Wednesday. The New Canvas is all about change and how either people have made a radical career change or companies have made major pivots to essentially survive in the climate that we're in. And I find it really inspiring, and I just think it's also good for other people to hear, because just different things can spark an idea in someone's mind, and then they can think, oh yeah, okay, maybe I need to think. I've got to think this way, like to try and see how we could possibly get around this situation. And so winning the award, you were like one of 3 social enterprise.
Well, I was a finalist, Brad. I didn't quite win.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I'll put out a real message.
Yeah, probably. I was a finalist, right. But I was very fortunate to be in the Qantas magazine as one of Australia's 100 most inspiring people.
Wow.
I just won that. I won that honor, you could say. Yeah.
Congratulations, man. That's awesome.
Who would think that an ex-drug addict could win an award of that manner? And I do see it as an honor, and I see it for what I'm doing today, and that's helping guys and girls turn their life around, just like I was able to turn mine around.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, you should check out an episode on Tuesdays. I'm doing a show called Tangent Tuesday, so I basically talk about whatever I want, and just talking to interesting people. And I came across this guy called, his name's David, I think is his real name, but he goes by Flacco McFly. and because Flaco means skinny in Puerto Rican, so he's a Puerto Rican American guy, and he's like a break dancer. He does like the popping and locking and stuff like that. And yeah, he has a really interesting story too of like, you know, he grew up in the Bronx, in the hood, you know, and ended up kind of, I guess, you know, on the streets and getting up to mischief and doing, you know, things he shouldn't have been doing, and, you know, finally end up in jail himself. And then, yeah, he's kind of turned his life around, but he's, you know, I guess focusing on dance, and now he's trying to, you know, I guess take that and influence the next generation, you know, and trying to sort of find kids like himself who maybe were potentially on the cusp of heading down the wrong direction, and say, hey, why don't you come and be part of this instead, you know? So yeah, people like him and people like yourself, just I think it's really inspiring. It's, you know, people who've made a big decision to turn their life around. It's massive. I've got, yeah, full respect, and I think you deserve, you know, I think you deserve the honour that you've got. Well, mate, we've got 15 minutes or so left, and I just wanted to see some of the people in the chat. Seeds, how you going, Ivana? And has anybody got any questions that they would like to put forward? So we'll just put that out there. They can see if they've got anything they want to talk to while they're having a little bit of a think. My question is, where was the farm that you grew up on?
Out between Melton and Werribee, just in Melbourne's western suburbs, really.
Okay.
It was only a small hobby farm.
Yeah.
But you know, I was kept away from all the trouble growing up on the farm. It was a great upbringing. I had great parents. I was a very lucky boy.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. I grew up country New South Wales, and one of the things I suppose that popped into my head when you, like, as soon as I sort of heard your story, particularly with the ice side of things, is as far as I'm aware, I think sadly, you know, ice has kind of spread like across the whole country, and I think in maybe even worse in some of the country areas, because there's not that much to do around the place, which is just real sad for me, because like I cherish like my childhood memories of growing up, as you say, like in a really innocent sort of environment. You know, you just got some basic stuff around you. You make your own fun. You know, you create like a little fort or something out of nothing, and
yeah,
you know,
exactly.
It's yeah, and so it's, I think it's sad. But I mean, have you got any thoughts on how this ice epidemic can be countered? Like, do you think there's any hope of stopping it, or do you think it's just here to stay?
I don't know. I don't know about stopping it. I know that actually, believe it or not, the COVID-19 has slowed it up a lot because of all the international travel.
Yeah,
so,
right. Yeah.
From what I've been led to believe, that, you know, the ice prices have jumped through the roof because it's very limited at the moment and the quality is terrible. So hopefully that might ease the situation a little bit.
Yeah.
I think there needs to be a lot more understanding in ice, and there needs to be a lot more awareness of the dangers.
Yeah.
You know, I would never have touched ice if I had known from just one use, just like heroin. I always knew with heroin that from the very first time you could be hooked. I was always, you know, that frightened me.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, that awareness isn't out there about ice, where it should be. You know, it should be.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah, if someone, if someone's struggling with ice at the moment or dabbling with ice, like, I mean, how would you? Any advice on, I guess, how to get out of that cycle?
Look, the only advice I can give anyone about stopping ice is it all comes back to you, and the want has to come back to you.
Yeah.
You know, all this stuff you hear is BS about being in pain. It's nothing like heroin that you're in pain. The withdrawals of ice are tiredness, crankiness. You know, you don't want to see the world, anxiety, all those sorts of things. Yes, you know, but you really got to get past. It becomes a second life. You start living like a vampire. Your friends change. You don't hang around the same sort of people. You hang around people who only use ice. So the only advice I can give is you really stop when you really want to stop.
Yeah.
Women lose their kids. If that's not enough for you to want to stop, I don't know what is.
Yeah, that's right. Terry in the chat here was just saying that he was addicted to ice for many years, and he's been 13 years clean and sober or something like
Wow.
that. So, yeah, that's great, Terry.
Wow.
It is.
Congratulations.
I think there's got to be some sort of moment, I suppose, where people just have, I guess, that wake-up call or the hard chat with themselves to kind of say, like, what am I doing here? Like, I know better, and just have to, I know with Flacco, he knew, he got into NA, Narcotics Anonymous, and essentially got some good people around him and some mentors and other things like that, and accountability and all the other things that go with it. But I think he also had some good advice just to change his scene and made some hard choices to remove certain people from his life. And on the positive side of all that, the same way that a bad crowd can take you down a bad pathway, I know that surrounding yourself with good people can take you up. Some people say, I don't know if I completely agree with it, but they say you're the product of the 5 people you're the closest to.
I believe 100%, and that was the beauty about starting work. That was the beauty about starting work, meeting new people who were all going down the same road I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was sick of that life. So it made it a lot easier.
Yeah.
And I didn't go to NA, but I'm a strong believer of NA. So I really think that people are struggling. The NA are a great support. Take it up by all means.
Yeah. And I think and so Fruit2work, are they only in Melbourne or are they around the country?
No, they're only in Melbourne at this stage.
In Melbourne, okay. And how long has it been running for?
About 3.5 years now.
Okay, yeah.
So we started.
Have they got plans for expanding further, or what's the idea there?
Yeah, so we this year we plan to expand to regional Victoria.
Yep.
And then we'll look at interstate.
Okay.
So we'll even if we either franchise the model or we it's very hard to pick up what you're good at and move it elsewhere. So it's in the pipeline.
Yeah, particularly I suppose if the I imagine, and I'm just picking up from talking to you, and that I imagine that there's a lot of heart and soul, that probably is a core part of the organisation. And so then sometimes, how do you sort of transplant that?
Exactly.
Elsewhere?
Unless we want to spend a lot of time on a plane. My boss Rob calls it magic sauce. We have our own magic sauce, and it really is just a no BS policy. It's simple. Do you want a second chance? You want a chance at a job? You want a chance at changing your life? Are you serious? Let's go. Let's do this.
Yeah.
And this is how you do it. Yeah. Don't give me excuses. I can't do this. I won't do that. Oh, I don't know about this. If you want a chance, let's do it.
Yeah.
Right.
That's awesome.
And this is how we'll do it. Yeah. So.
Yeah. What I'm going to do off the back of this is I'm going to go and see whether or not any of the prisons have hashtags or anything like that, so that maybe it'd be great for this message to get to the people who really need it. So and who are wanting to make a change, and congratulations for I guess making that decision to kind of go, well, I'm just going to try and at least salvage some of your time, right? So you're in that situation, you've had the wake up call, you want to try and start learning. So I guess that's another good thing to at least stack the odds in your favor, right? Like if somebody's in that situation, every little bit helps, I think, when it comes to fighting against, you know, a temptation to take drugs, you know, because it's yeah.
That's what made me want to write the book, Brad. When I was in jail, you know, if I could have read a book like mine, and a story like mine, to show that, hey, I can get through this.
Yeah.
I might go through. It's not going to be all easy, but I can get through it.
Yeah.
This guy did.
Yeah.
If I could have read a book like that, you know, to open my eyes and say to me, it is doable. You know, you might encounter these problems, but it is doable. I at least I would have known what I would have been expecting when I got out of jail.
That's right.
So the other thing I do now is I go into jails and I mentor guys. So I mentor them one-on-one, and I also speak to groups of prisoners and I tell them my story.
Yeah.
Yeah. To try and give them hope and let them know that, hey, it's not easy, but it's doable. And once you've gotten through that stage, you're free. You don't know anybody, anything. Yeah, you can get your life back. Yeah?
That's good. Yeah, man, good on you. That's so good. You know, that's what people need. They need hope. Hope is just you know, it's just one of the key essences of life, really, isn't it? You know, without hope
and
without independence, it's pretty grim.
And not only hope for the addict or for the person who's in jail, but hope for the family. So hope for the family that, hey, I'm not going to give up on my brother. I'm not going to give up on my son. I'm not going to give up on my nephew. Maybe they can change. Maybe, you know what, maybe I'll pick up the phone and see how they are.
Yeah.
You know, okay, I'm not going to send them money because sending them money is not the right thing to do, but I'm just going to check on them, see how they're okay.
Show some love. Show them some love. It's a powerful thing, you know, like in my kind of, you know, 10 years or so that I kind of was kind of heavy into the party scene and all that kind of thing. Like, yeah, like my sisters, like to their credit, they just loved me. Like they didn't try and lecture me. They didn't try and, you know, whatever. They just showed me love the whole time. And, yeah, I think it was just a real, yeah, I'm forever grateful, for that. You know, I fortunately came around myself. I grew up sort of going to church and stuff like that. And, you know, was a Christian sort of in my teens, and then sort of around 20 or so, I was in Sydney working bars and yeah, just kind of, I'm a very like inquisitive sort of person. Like I like, you know, I like experiences. So like I was already like, you know, drinking more than I should have. I already like that sensation of drinking and, you know, whatever. And I dabbled with pot, I guess, in my late teens. And then, you know, just hanging out with some guys in Sydney. Someone turned up one night at a party and they were putting out lines on the table, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll give it a go. And just, you know, from there, like, you know, but for me, it was more like a, you know, a few times a week type kind of thing. So I was still more like, I suppose you'd say, like a functional, like if you could, you know, functioning addict. Yep. And then I tried to actually dump that scene. Actually, I did try to leave that environment and went back to live with my parents for a little while. But then I got this door-to-door sales job. And very soon in that, the dude who was my team leader, he was like hard out into like taking ecstasy and all that sort of thing. So like I was just straight back into it. But then it was worse, because then I was making money, you know, which to me at the time was, I thought I was a millionaire. Like I was making $1,000 a week, which is really not much now. You think about it, it's 50, but at that age, and I was just like, and I wasn't paying any rent, so I was just like, well, that's $1,000 a week partying, and yeah. But so I'm just glad that I didn't sort of, I suppose, end up, you know, getting too carried away. Like I was, what would you call like a, I don't know, you probably would have an official term for it from the gang scene, but like a, what would you call like almost like a bottom feeder? You know what I mean? Like I would basically get like a handful of pills from like a guy 10 at a time or something, sell them to my mates or sell them to other people at the nightclub, and just enough to keep.
Yeah,
There's like a one in, one out type system. You know what I mean? Like, and I would just enough to kind of keep myself going. It's probably the most ridiculous situation to put yourself in because you're maximum exposure. You know what I mean?
Well, you know what actually I'd probably call you? I'd probably call you lucky because let's face it, whether it be pills, ice, or whatever, we never know what we're ingesting in our bodies. It could be one pill. It could, it could be that one time that kills you. So, or one decision that you make whilst you're off your face that kills you. You know, especially in the ice scene, if you don't eat and you don't sleep, how do you expect to be making decisions? So, you know, anyone that uses drugs, are very lucky people to come out alive.
Yeah.
You know, or at least come out with their brain cells. Yeah.
Yeah, lack of sleep is pretty wild. Like I know I went sort of 3 days at one time, and things started getting really. So I would say I had a minor psychotic episode, or I don't know if you'd say minor or major, but like because I thought it was like I was in the Matrix or something. I had this terrible time. Like I was running around the city, voices in my head telling me to do shit. Like drop my mobile phone down this tube, throw the money in the thing. Just it was a bad space, and it took me a long time to actually kind of. It did rattle me for a while. That stayed with me for a while, but I'm lucky that that could have been the one. That could have. Some people's brain just actually literally gets snapped at that point, and you have a permanent damage to your brain. I mean, I can't say I've got all my brain cells, but I definitely am lucky to come out of it. Like I don't know. It's tough. Like for young people, I actually think again with COVID, hopefully, aside from people sneaking around having house parties, it's probably been a good thing that the clubs and everything have been shut down for a while, and maybe a few people, even if it's just a handful, it's better than none. Hopefully you've thought, you know what, actually, I'm going to calm down off that sort of, going out. You think you're invincible when you're young. That's the problem, isn't it? And that's for a lot of people.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So while we've got this other opportunity, can I just stress the fact that while COVID is going on, if you've got some friends out there that you haven't heard from for a while, just pick up the phone because mental health is a big issue at the moment.
Yeah.
A big issue. Suicide rate has jumped 200%.
Yeah.
Just pick up the phone. Just check on a friend. It costs nothing. Sometimes a phone call is all it takes.
Yeah.
Off the subject,
good point.
Very important.
Yeah, 100%, man. And that's like that exact thought about COVID and with people being stuck at home with potentially no food or no money, they've lost their job, and maybe they're trapped in a violent situation. It's now worse because they're with their offender 24/7. There's all sorts of things, those kind of nasty, the thoughts, but the real reality was kind of what inspired me to go down the channel of trying to start this Social Enterprise Flicks for Good, because I want to be able to create money and awareness to give to the causes who are on the front line trying to help, those people, trying to stop suicide, trying to help domestic violence, and or even just helping people be aware. So like you say, so that they can just do awareness, simple things like pick up the phone and just showing love and a bit of caring towards people. It really does. Yeah, it costs nothing. And I think the more people can be educated, the more people can understand stories and stories like yours, it hopefully gives them a little bit more compassion with other people that are out there. Because as you say, it's easy. A lot of people just go, fuck that guy, you know what I mean? They'll write them off. They'll just go, oh well, I've got my own little collection of friends over here. My life's pretty hunky dory. We'll just turn the back on them. But thanks, mate. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been a real pleasure chatting to you, and hopefully we'll talk again. And please, spread this around. I'll post it. We can chat after the show if need be about how we can kind of further spread it around, and the more people it gets to, the better, and the more people can get their hands on your book, the better. And I wish you all the best with that as well. If there's anything that we can do to help as a community, let us know. And hopefully, because I've got to do a big crowdfund for it, but if Flicks for Good does take flight, then I'll certainly be having a chat to you guys, because I want to have as many social enterprises and not-for-profits, etc., on the books as possible. No cost to them, just people that I know that, if money comes in, we know who to give it to.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be on board. Thanks very much, Brad. And thanks for all the viewers.
Yeah.
I'll go through all the comments. Thank you.
Yeah,
very welcome.
Thanks so much. All right, mate. Well, I'll talk to you next time. I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks, everybody in the chat. Terry, and Seeds, and Varna, and Donato. There's a raft of them there. But it's been a really good conversation. So I'm glad that you were able to get it put together. All right,
thanks, guys.
Remember, talk to you next
breaking
time.
Good.
Bye,
Thank
everybody.
You. Bye.